Imagine this. It's the middle of the night and you wake up to the sound of someone breaking into your home. Fear sets in, adrenaline kicks in, you grab whatever's closest to you, a bat, a lamp, maybe even just your fists, and prepare to defend your family. But in the back of your mind there's this nagging question: what if I go too far? Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling one of the most debated and misunderstood topics in UK law. What are your rights as a homeowner when it comes to defending yourself against an intruder? This is a question that has sparked heated debates in courtrooms, on social media and in Parliament. And to understand it fully, we'll look at 3 real-life cases that have shaped public opinion and even influenced the law itself: Tony Martin, Richard Osborn-Brooks and Adam White. Quick disclaimer here, this video is not legal advice, it's for education and entertainment purposes only, but I do hope to spark some debate because it's a topic that affects all of us, so let me know what you think in the comments. Section 1. The basics of UK self-defence law. So let's start with the basics. What does the law actually say about self-defence? Well, under UK law, you're allowed to use reasonable force to protect yourself, your family, or your property. The key word here is reasonable. It's not about being perfectly calm and rational in a moment of extreme fear, because let's face it, if someone's broken into your home, you're not going to calmly consult a legal manual. The courts understand this. In fact, in 2013, the law was changed to give householders more protection. Now, you can even use disproportionate force in the heat of the moment, as long as it's not deemed grossly disproportionate. For example, if someone breaks into your home and you hit them to protect yourself, that's likely going to be seen as reasonable. But if you chase them down the street and attack them once they're no longer a threat, you're crossing the line into dangerous legal territory. But here's where it gets tricky. What's reasonable to you in a moment of panic might not look reasonable in the cold light of day, under the scrutiny of a courtroom. And that brings us to our first case, the Tony Martin case of 1999.
A Norfolk farmer was tonight charged with murder after the shooting of 2 suspected burglars.
The site of the late-night shootings, Bleak House, has been the centre of continued police investigation. One of those burglars, Brendan Ferran, told detectives in an interview that he and an accomplice, Fred Barris, had been inside when Tony Martin had fired at them. The jury heard Martin had told police he did not shout any warning before firing. He'd even allegedly booby-trapped his own staircase, and he'd told police officers that if burglars came onto his property, he'd blow their heads off.
The Tony Martin case is perhaps the most famous and polarising example of this issue. In 1999, Tony Martin, a farmer living in a remote Norfolk farmhouse, shot 2 intruders who broke into his home late at night. One of them was 16-year-old Fred Barris. He died from his injuries. The other, Brendan Ferran, survived with injuries. Here's what divided public opinion. Barris was shot in the back as he was trying to escape. The prosecution argued this wasn't self-defence, it was revenge. Tony Martin, on the other hand, argued that he feared for his life. He lived in an isolated area with no immediate help, and he had been burgled several times. Tony Martin was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Later, his conviction was reduced to manslaughter on appeal, and he served 3 years. Now, there are more details to this case, such as Tony Martin was using an illegal firearm. He had his licence taken off him because he'd shot at a vehicle of a man that he deemed was stealing apples from his orchard, and he got reduced to manslaughter on the case of diminished responsibility, meaning that the appeal found that he was not of sound mind when the event occurred. But this case left people asking, should it matter that Barris was fleeing? After all, Mr. Martin didn't know if they might come back or if they were armed. Many felt the law had failed to protect the man who was just defending his home, while others believed it was a clear use of excessive force. What do you think? Was Tony Martin a victim of circumstance, or did he cross a line? To this day, Tony Martin has no regrets on what happened. Let me know in the comments. Section 3. The Richard Osborn-Brooks case of 2018. Nearly 2 decades later, the case of Richard Osborn-Brooks gave us a very different outcome. In 2018, 2 burglars broke into the South London home of Osborn-Brooks, a 78-year-old pensioner and his wife. During the confrontation, one of the intruders, Henry Vincent, was fatally stabbed. Unlike Tony Martin, Osborn-Brooks was not prosecuted. The Crown Prosecution Service ruled his actions were lawful in self-defence. The case highlighted how the 2013 changes to the law had had an impact. People felt reassured that homeowners had more protection when it came to defending themselves. But it also reignited the debate: should you have the right to kill an intruder in your own home, or should there be limits to what you can do, even in a moment of fear? What's interesting is the public reaction. Many hailed Osborn-Brooks as a hero, while others raised concern about vigilante justice. What do you think? Did the CPS get it right this time, or does this set a dangerous precedent? Which leads us on to Section 4, the Adam White case of 2022. Now, let's talk about Adam White, a case that sparked outrage across the country. In 2022, White, an electrician, chased two burglars who had broken into his home, so they had fled the scene, but White jumped in his car and went after them. During the chase, White lost control of his vehicle and caused a crash that left the burglars seriously injured. Here's the shocking part. The burglars received suspended sentences, while White was sentenced to 22 months in prison for causing serious injury by dangerous driving. Once the burglars had fled, was the immediate threat to White over? Legally, the answer is yes. The law in the UK is very clear. Self-defence applies when there is an immediate threat to you or your family. Pursuing someone after they've left your property can take you out of the bounds of lawful self-defence. But here's the part that infuriated so many people. The burglars who had broken in and caused this entire situation were given suspended sentences. Meanwhile, White, a man with no prior criminal record, was sent to prison. The public saw this as a miscarriage of justice. After all, if you can't chase intruders to stop them or protect your family, what are you supposed to do? The case leaves us with a question that's both legal and moral. Should the law be stricter on intruders, or should it be more lenient on people like Adam White who act out of fear and instinct? Let me know what you think. Should White have been punished, or should the burglars face harsher consequences? These three cases, Tony Martin, Richard Osborn-Brooks and Adam White, paint a complicated picture of self-defence law here in the UK. On one hand, the law is there to protect us from overreactions and to ensure that people don't take justice into their own hands or escalate situations unnecessarily. But on the other hand, it raises real questions about fairness. If someone invades your home, why should you be the one who's walking on eggshells? The key issue here is balance. The law tries to balance the rights of the homeowner with the rights of the intruder. Yes, even criminals have rights under UK law, but does the balance lean too far in one direction? These cases also show just how quickly things can spiral out of control. A split-second decision can be the difference between being seen as a hero or being prosecuted as a criminal. And let's not forget the emotional toll. People like Tony Martin, Richard Osborn-Brooks and Adam White didn't just face legal consequences, they faced public scrutiny, media attention and years of stress and trauma. Is that something we're considering enough? So where does this leave us? Are homeowners in the UK adequately protected by the law, or is it time for reform? Should people like Adam White have been jailed? Should Tony Martin have been punished so harshly? Or is the system already fair? This is a conversation we all need to have, because the reality is this could happen to anyone. None of us plan for a break-in, but if it happens, how confident are you that the law will protect you? Let's get the conversation going. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspectives. And remember, this is not legal advice. If you ever find yourself in this situation, please consult a proper legal team. If you found this video interesting or thought-provoking, give it a like, share it with someone who might find it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into important topics. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.